Jamaica's banking system and policies are again in the news headlines. Discussions peaked with a heated debate in Parliament between Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark and opposition representatives. The tipping point was again high banking fees. Customers are charged for deposits, withdrawals, dormant accounts. There have also been increased concerns among customers because of online fraud and push by banks to go mainly online. Well, this is PTN Plus, where we take these news reports further. I'm Herman Green. We start with the banking fees debate. One person who has been keeping a close eye on the discussion is development economist Dr. Chris Stokes. He now joins us. Dr. Stokes, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Dr. Stokes, we've been hearing the high bank fees cry for years. The finance minister indicated that if the government tries to regulate or set the price for bank fees, there may be unexpected negative consequences. Are the government's hands tied?
Well, it's not a matter of being tied. It's a principle of an economic philosophy that underpins this. Should the government involve itself in a free market to set prices? The answer is clearly no, and I'm going to get back to the setting prices issues in a little bit. However, the government does have an interest and should play a role in creating a more competitive marketplace, and this is where we need to be spending some time. It seems to me that the ability to move between banks is far too sticky. It doesn't allow for competition based on prices. If you're at one bank, it is just far easier to stay there, and there are barriers to entry to getting a bank account based on the know your customer criteria. So I believe if we're going to spend time on something, it would be on putting in place such policies as increased competition in the space, which is difficult.
So as in the market, demand and supply, you're saying basically creating competition would bring the price of fees down?
Well, absolutely. There's, I don't want to seem partial here, but there are credit unions that could serve the needs of the vast majority of the customer base that do offer, in fact, offer lower fees. There's certainly the Victoria Mutual Ability Society and other banks in addition to the two big banks. Now everybody seems to be edging up on their fees, and there's a reason for that. We don't want to go back to the 90s, but we need to make it more competitive so that persons have options. I think it's important to make a point. One of the things the opposition keeps saying is that they are not talking about about government setting fees. What they have said is that certain transactions, deposits, withdrawals, balance inquiries should be free, which to my mind mean that those services are set at a price of zero. And I need some help in understanding how that is not price fixing, but just as one perspective on that particular point.
Dr. Clark had indicated that a Financial Services Consumer Protection Act is coming. What do you expect from that act?
I think that there's a role for that in protecting the consumer from abuse, from lack of delivering services that were advertised that are expected, which is quite a different matter than the prices that a private institution sets for the services that it offers. There are two distinct things, and both the consumer protection is extremely important. There are avenues for abuse. People need to have recourse. But to me, it crosses the line when you start to say, these four services you must provide at no cost to the customers. That just makes me uncomfortable, having seen what we've been through in the 70s, having lived through the 90s, been at the table when the entire system collapsed. And we were telling banks that they must, buy Orange Orchard and get it into their business, allow the banks to operate, to make money, to build capital and to thrive. But at the same time, government has a responsibility to reduce the friction in movement of customers between services and thereby increasing competition. And
okay, hopefully, as I said, that will be included in this act that's coming. Well, banking fees is only one of the complaints from customers. Now, Special Investigation and Fraud Prevention Manager at NCB, Dane Nicholson, now joins us because cybersecurity has become a major, if not the main concern among consumers. Dane, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Here are some, before we get into it, here are some of the complaints and concerns that we have been hearing here at TVJ.
If any security at all, it's not enough. I think anything that is done online is everybody's business. You understand? Everybody knows what is going on and they can just do anything, hack your account and thing.
It's so much chaos whenever something like that happens. You know, it takes you a long time before you can sort it out, the people who are responsible. So if something can be done to really change the situation, then fine, I would like online, right? But if not, I'd prefer the old conventional thing.
I've gone to banks myself to open a new account, and they say to me that you have to insert your password. When they present the machine for me to insert the password, it is a touch screen. So I don't have no way, Senator Bunting, of knowing where the 1, the 2, or the 3, or the 4, or the 5, or the 6, or the 0 is.
Well, this online thing, for me, I'm 80 and I haven't got a clue anything about it, and I can't learn about it just now at my age.
The bank should put in something more safer, so that people like me, my age, will feel more safer, that our monies won't go otherwise.
All right, Dane, when you were on Primetime News back in May, $17 million had been swindled from a dozen customers. Security remains a concern, as you just heard. How has the bank's fraud prevention team, that's your team, improved security since then?
Well, the first thing I'd want to highlight is that the issue that we face is mostly around customer education. It's not that the bank's systems or processes, there's any fraud with it. What we face is that customers are unwittingly clicking on links or visiting websites that will infect their devices with malicious software, or they click on links not knowing the source and it takes them to site that is not related to the financial institution. So what a broader discussion that needs to happen across the island is customer education, which surrounds digitization and the need to know and understand how to navigate the digital space. Because one of the things we have to face is that the entire world has changed. The world has shifted and moved from manual to digital. So there's no turning back. So we now have a part to play. The financial institution has a part to play in terms of educating the customers on how to navigate this place. The customers themselves also have a part to play, because this must be a partnership of how we navigate this digital age. But suffice to say that we have made significant investment in our IT security infrastructure. It remains a robust and safe space to navigate once the customers know the do's and the don'ts of not clicking on links, do not visit websites that aren't safe, look for the S in the HTTPS when shopping online to ensure that you're not unwittingly divulging your information. So once we can close that gap of customer education, I am certain that we'll have a more stabilized or a safer space for the customers to navigate.
All right, I want to bring Dr. Stokes back in here, because from the complaints that the seniors in particular, they had a complaint that there are fewer face-to-face services, but more fees. Dr. Stokes, do you believe this is a justified concern?
Well, I hear the concern. I hear it on the face of it. You know, one has to be careful to take that as absolute fact. We need to understand that part of the consequence of lower interest rates, smaller spreads, is that banks look more to fees. All right, and we do want a stable banking system, so let us not get excited about proposing things that may compromise that. However, they just made a very important point. We're not going back. We're not going back. What we're talking about is, how do we go forward? All right, the regulators, just the same way you put your cash in there and the bank is responsible for that cash, it's insured. If somebody come and take out a pistol and jump on the counter and stick up the bank and run off with the money. That's the bank's issue, not the customer's issue. So in the same way, the bank in this cyber age that we're in has a responsibility to make sure that customers' funds are safe, and that needs to be continually monitored and upgraded. However, if you have a customer that is clicking on links and giving unknown people their username and password, it's a risk. And what we must do with that is address that risk, as was said just now, through an education program.
All right, Mr. Nicholson. Senator Floyd Morris, he gave an example of the challenges the visually impaired community has. How is the bank making online and digital banking more accessible and secure to this group?
So one of the things that we have done, Herman, we have partnered with the Disabilities Foundation of Jamaica. Several of our ATMs, we have taken recommendation from them. We have gotten some of the areas that they are quite prevalent at. And what we have done is to retrofit those ATMs with Braille, have them the relevant headset so that those who can navigate and listen to what the ABM is saying to follow the instructions, and they are fitted with Braille. So one of the things that we have to do, Herman, as we navigate the digital space, is to balance the customer experience and security. There's a critical balance that we must find in that area. And if the scale is tipped in any one direction, the bank is going to be in trouble. Just as how they will get security guards to guard their home, they must also play a part in guarding their digital footprints to ensure that they remain safe.
All right, good. I'm going to take that as your final comment. We're almost out of time. Dr. Stokes, your final comment, fees and security online?
Herman, I think it's important. I think it's important to put this in context. Jamaica runs a risk of being left behind in the world because of the very real consequences of the digital divide. We have to be aware of that. Jamaica will be left behind. I was in New York the other day. I went to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. I was the only person in line with cash. People were switching thing and switching phone and gone through the business. I went over to Europe talking to a youngster and asking about the banking service. I said, where's your bank? And she don't know where the bank is. She don't know where the bank on my phone, right? And these are the people that we are competing against. These are the efficiencies that in the distribution of products and services and innovation that is critical to don't forget about getting ahead, to keeping up. And if we don't take on these things frontally, do what we can with those who are being left behind, we have a duty to do that, but it must go forward. Otherwise, the economy, the Jamaican economy will continue to fall behind because of this digital gap. So let's just figure out a way to make it work and not leave people behind.
All right, good. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching. Keep watching this space as we continue to take TVJ Primetime News further with PTN+.